Hello again. Welcome to another exciting episode of Stafford Media Channel. And today I'm doing a photography lecture, and it's going to be on your repetition assignment. So you recently went out and shot a repetition assignment. And like all the previous assignments, by the way, I was sort of going under the idea that we're going to be in class checking out cameras, maybe, probably, sort of, hopefully. But it looks like we're not going to be doing that for some time. And if you watch this in subsequent years, then you'll be back in class, and we'll be using my cameras in the class and all that good stuff. But like for this upcoming year, or whenever we're all distance learning still, you're probably going to be shooting a lot of things on your phone, which is great because it has a nice camera in there. And so just recently I went out and I shot some pictures with it. And I don't believe I showed you how to take your images from here and put them onto your computer where you're going to edit them. So let's try that. So what I'm actually going to do is I shot some pictures on here. I'm going to go ahead and upload those pictures right now. And so how do you do that? I'm going to record this so you can see my phone too. And there we go. Now we're recording this so you can see this too. I'm going to actually go to Office, which I already did. So I'm going to office.com, which you have a Microsoft account as part of Fresno Unified. And so when you go to office.com, it'll ask you for the first time to put in your Fresno Unified email address, the thing at fresnou.org, and then your password. And so then once you're in, you should be able to see all these different apps you can use on your phone. It's kind of cool. And you're going to go to OneDrive. OneDrive is a cloud storage device. Cloud storage means stored somewhere up there. Basically, it's stored on a server somewhere. Who knows where it is, but it's stored on a big server, which is just a great big old computer somewhere. So what I'm actually going to do then is we're looking on my screen here, and I'm going to go to my photography, videography. I did this for my video kit, so I'm going to open that folder, photography, videography, uploads, and there's some movies that I shot on my phone, and I'm going to upload some photography files. So I'm at this point here, and then I find, let's see, it's not that dot right there. It is those dots right there. And I'm going to say upload files, and it's going to think about it, and then it says, I'm going to say go to your photo library. And I can actually click on recents because I just shot these a little while ago. And I shot from that one all the way down to there. So I'm just picking all these here. I'm going to say let's upload all of these. And done. And it is now saying it's uploading 7 items. So you don't have to sit here and watch these upload because it's kind of like watching grass grow. So that's one of the things about the way we're going to be working is learn to be patient. It's going to take time to do this, so just be patient with things. All right, so they're coming in here. They are coming in here. So I'll probably edit this part out or play the Jeopardy theme over it, although it's copyrighted, so we can't really do that. But hey, that wasn't too bad. So I did upload it. So I'm going to stop the recording on this. Stop. And I can now put my phone away. And I'm going to now go ahead and go to my Office account, and so I already had it open on here, and I should have something called photography, videography, uploads. So I'm going to click in there. Hey, look, I have a bunch of new pictures right on here. So I'm going to go ahead and take those, and I'm going to download a bunch of them. So let's see if I can do a bunch at once, or if it's going to make me do them all at one time. I am not going to. I'll actually preview them, see if I like them. Looks good. You'll notice how when you first look at it, when I saw that first one, I was kind of going, they don't look as sharp, but then it takes them a second to sharpen up. So if then I'm going to say download, and it says, I'm just going to say save file. Say do this automatically, and I'm going to do that, and they should all be in my download file. And I'm going to right click, let me go back, I'm sorry. I'm going to right click and say download, So they're all going into my download folder. I'm going to download all 7 of those. I think I shot 7. Download. 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 And one more. Download. Alright, so all those are downloading. And now I'm going to kind of minimize this folder here. Let me move it over a little bit. Let me minimize it, make it smaller. There we go. Why am I doing this? Because I want to be able to have 2 windows open at one time. So now I'm going to move this over. And I'm going to open my, if you look, here's your downloads. I'm going to open another folder right here. And I'm going to go to my picture folder. And inside of here, let's go ahead and I'm going to make a new folder. And in my new folder, I'm going to go ahead and name it the name of the assignment that I'm working on, which in this case, it's going to be repetition. Click like. And then I'll go ahead and find all those things in my download folder, and I should now be able to take them and simply drag them over. Oops. Now I made it mad. And that's some of them there. Looking for more of mine here, see if I missed any. It's saying they're moved or missing, so after I drag them, that's where they're moving them to. I think I missed some of them, but for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll go ahead and move on, because I know I shot more than that. In fact, I had some other ones that I really liked. Why don't I actually go there, because I want to see, I'm going to look at those too, because I might find some that I like even more. But I can just edit this part out. I didn't see that one. Download. There we go, there's another one. Oh, the ones at the piano I didn't get. There we go. And last one. Okay, I think I downloaded the ones I couldn't find. So, I'm going to go ahead and right-click this and say Open with Photos. So Photos is just a viewer. Lets you pick your images. So always look for something that, number one, it fulfills the criteria of the assignment. So this definitely fulfills like repetition. Sure. I can also say, is it a sharp image? Let's see. I like this one here. Just kind of looking through these. Open with photos. And yeah, I like that one. That's good. It's good. Kind of torn between the piano. Oh, that one got my toe in it. Piano and that one. Tough call there. Tough call. I might go with the piano because I like the lighting on it. It's a good example of repetition. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to open with, and let's pick Photoshop. Now, if you look in here, you don't find Photoshop. You see Illustrator. Illustrator's cool that, but no, we don't want it for this one. So I'm going to say Photoshop CC 2018 and OK. And it opened Photoshop, and it opened it in Photoshop. So there it is. And now I'm also going to open instructions for this. So remember, I always give you a little recipe, I call it. So let's see what the recipe says here. And it says download your pics. I did that already. And then it says open with Photoshop. And now it says to save as your photo by going to File, Save As. File name should be your last name and then repetition 1 and PSD. And then it's going to change the format to Photoshop document. So here it is right here. So let's go ahead and say File, Save As. And first of all, it says, well, where are you going to put it? And I said, go ahead and put it in the picture folder. Pictures, and in pictures, then I was in there, repetition. And there's all my other repetition folders that are in there. So I don't want to call it this big long number that my camera assigns it. Remember what I said? Use your first initial last name and put an underscore on it. And I'm going to call this REP, short for repetition, 1. And then I'm going to make it a Photoshop document. And then I click Save. So you'll notice that the name changed right there for me. Next, it says to adjust your exposure and contrast by going to the Adjustments tab under Windows Adjustments. Select the Curves Adjustment tab. This creates a new layer. Adjust your image with the sliders. This is a new adjustment for yourself. You've never done this before. So you can either go to Window, Curves, Adjustments, but I already have that window open right there. It's right there. And you want the thing that looks like a curve. And I pull up this thing right here, and it shows that histogram. Remember, we talked about histograms last time. Excuse me a second. We talked about histograms last time. And a histogram is a digital fingerprint of this very picture right here. So what I want to do, and it takes people a little while to get used to using curves, but basically you can take it and you can do this with it. You pull it down a little bit, and then you push up a little bit. Pull it down in the darker areas, push up a little bit in the highlights. And you see, just by doing that right there, creating this nice little S-shaped curve, you can actually adjust your contrast and your exposure just by sliding these around. You can also, if you want to, there's presets that are in here. So if you said I want something like has medium contrast, hey, look, that's actually not far from what I did. If you want something that says I want strong contrast, it's a little more intense than what I had. I think that might be a little too much for this picture. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that up just a little bit so you can make adjustments to those presets also. So that's kind of cool. One other neat thing that you can do is, see where it says RGB right here? If you click right there and you said, now there's not a lot of color values in here other than these warm tones in here from the piano. It's a piano right behind you there. But you do see some, kind of reds and browns in there. So like I can actually click on the red channel, and look, I can actually, if I click on this little finger in here and then pull down, look what it does. It changes that whole curve right inside of here. So that's a beautiful thing about curves, is that you can basically say, I like this color. So notice I clicked on something that was red. I said, I like this color, and I can just go and I can just kind of bring out those colors, really pump up those colors. So that's the nice thing about curves, is it really lets you get in and adjust the colors that you want, either by increasing them, or in the case of maybe you don't like a particular color, you can actually pull it out there. Okay, and there we go. That's curved. So you have that nice S-shaped curve. Okay, so curves are really cool. Let me see if I put it in these instructions here. Ah, yes, I did. The next one says to fix exposure issues on parts of your image by using the mask on the layer. Paint either black or white on the layer mask to lighten or darken areas of the image that are under or overexposed. Do another curves adjustment layer if necessary to fix other areas. So the cool thing about let's go back to our layer palette. See, by making that curve layer, I created that layer right there. But it also created something called a mask, a layer mask, and the layer mask is right there. What does a layer mask do? It's just like any other mask. Like if you use a Halloween mask, it's going to cover up part. So like I can go in right here and I can say, I don't want that adjustment in certain parts. Okay, so maybe I liked how I brought out that red here, but I thought, yeah, it's kind of pumping in a little red right there on those piano keys, and I don't like that. So you can actually take a paintbrush and I can paint out those parts. So I don't want reddish in there. I want the red coming out there. So I can make my brush a little bit smaller. I did that with the bracket tool, the open bracket tool. Look like that. Will actually make your brush bigger or smaller. And if I grab my paintbrush, now you go, wait a minute, I thought this was a photography class, not a painting class. You're right, it is. We're not really painting, we're masking. We're just knocking out parts of the mask. So I can click on that brush, and then I want to select what type of brush I'm using. So I want like a soft round brush. And so I want this edge soft as opposed to a really hard edge. It's going to give you can actually change the hardness right there, but I want a really soft brush, and you can change your size right there too. But I like doing it with the keyboard. It's a lot quicker. You can also change your opacity and flow. Opacity is kind of like how much paint you have on there. Flow is kind of really how hard it's coming out or how fast it's coming out. So that's kind of your adjustments right here. So you can change how much it's coming out there. So if I click here and paint black on that area, look at that. You can actually see that red kind of disappearing from that area right there. And then you can see how I took that adjustment out there. So the instructions, if we go back to it, that was kind of cool, isn't it? If you go back to the instructions, it says to fix exposure issues on parts of your image by using the mask on the layer. And then it goes on further to say, do another curves adjustment to fix other areas. So if you said, you know what, it's kind of bright back there, which I agree it is. It's kind of bright back there. I can actually make a new curve adjustment layer. Now, the exposure was for right here, and your camera can only handle so much contrast. If something is, we call it out of gamut, if something is really, really bright or really, really dark, much more so than your average exposure, which here's my proper exposure in this area. If something's a lot brighter than that, you can't really recover it, but I can bring it down a little bit. Let's see what we can do. So I'm going to go to my adjustments tab again and make another curve adjustment layer. But in this case, I want to simply darken it down quite a bit. Now, it kind of made this part of it, that's probably a little much, but you don't have to worry about this. You just have to kind of look back there, and it sort of looks better back there. So let's go ahead and look at my layers now. See what it does is it put a curve on top of curve layer on top of that curve layer. So if I go here and say, you know what, let's adjust this mask. And the cool thing about masks is they can either be a white mask or a black mask. Let's make a black mask. I can actually fill that with black by going to Edit Fill. There's multiple ways to do it. I could do it Shift F5. There's other ways to do it. I'll show you later. But so I just made the contents of that black. But now I can just paint in areas where I want to be darker. So I'm going to go ahead and my opacity is about, again, that's kind of how much, if I were painting, it'd be how much paint I have. Now I can just kind of paint in those areas right here. But you said, hey, I didn't see it do anything. Yeah, because see, I'm painting black on black, and so it didn't do anything. But if you go right here, these are called your default colors, black and white. But if I go right here to this little tiny arrow that says switch foreground and background colors. So if I now paint white on a black mask, I can darken down, just kind of painting in the areas that I want to be darker. And you see it's slowly darkening down. And you see what it did to my mask here? Look at that. It's kind of cool, huh? Kind of just darkened down those areas. So if you look what I did, just very subtly, computer's going really slow here, but it just very subtly darkened down all those areas right there. See the before and the after? I was able to darken down the areas that I thought maybe were too light. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Control S will save that. So let's keep going. And now it says this step is optional. I went too far. The step is optional, but it looks cool. Try it. Blur out parts of your image by first doing a stamp visible on all of the layers. Control-Shift-Alt-E is the command. Then go to filter, blur, and then tilt shift. Pull the lines apart to change where the blur portions of your picture are. Turn the internal circular slider to change the amount of blur. So we're going to do a tilt shift. Now, we talked a little bit about depth of field, and in normal times when we're using the camera, we talk a lot about depth of field. Depth of field, by the way, is how much of your picture is in focus. And it's a little harder to adjust on your camera phone as opposed to your regular camera, where you learn to adjust how much your picture's in focus. Sometimes you want everything in focus in your picture. Sometimes you want just your subject in focus in your picture, whatever your subject is, whether it's a person, whether it's a tree, whether it's a bicycle, something. Sometimes you'll just want just that part in focus. And so right now, this part of my picture is in focus right here at the piano keys. And so I may want to change how much that's in focus. So let's play with that a little bit. Let's do a snap visible. It's Control-Shift-Alt and E as in Edgar. And so it took a picture of all those layers. And there they are right there. And so then you go to Filter, Blur. And there's a lot of different blurs here. I'm going to go to one in here. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I don't have tilt shift on this version. It's on the versions at school, and I don't have tilt shift here. So I'm going to go ahead and fake it, and I'm going to say Gaussian blur. And what it will do is it's going to blur out parts of the picture for me. So you say, well, how would you want a blurry picture? Well, it's not all going to be blurry like that. So I'm going to go ahead and blur it, and that's definitely too much. You have to be careful. You don't want it to look fake, but we're just going to kind of work with what we have. I'm going to do about, that's 9.4 pixels. We'll go ahead and make it 10. Now you say, oh, great, you're just turn your picture out of focus, but I'm going to make a mask. So watch, and the way you make a mask, these curve adjustments already had a mask built in, so anytime you do an adjustment layer, it will already automatically have it built in. But you can mask pretty much anything in Photoshop. So the way you make a mask is click right there. That says Add Layer Mask. Click, it's that little tiny dot there, and see now all of a sudden, hey, I have that same rectangle there. And so I can use the same paintbrush, and that's a white mask. So on a white mask, if I paint black, it's going to knock that out. So I can now paint these areas back in focus. And you'll see now, so now it's slightly out of focus there. And again, you want your opacity turned down, have it turned down about 36%. So now when you look, see, I kind of just knocked a hole in that mask, and now it just kind of exaggerates your depth of field a little bit. See, look right back there, and you can see a difference. Keep it subtle. If you overdo it, it's going to look really fake and kind of gross. But yeah, see, it's just kind of blurring that out. So it looks nice, especially because since it is a little bright. We call it overexposed in that area. So since it is a little overexposed there, I'm going to go ahead and blur that out. So I'm telling people's brains, look right here, look here. Okay, what's next? It's kind of fun. All right. So we blurred parts of it. Now we're going to want to sharpen the whole thing now. But again, we'll just mask that so it's only sharp, say, on the parts that I want to be sharp and not sharpen the blurry areas. That wouldn't make any sense. So it says to sharpen your image. And we're going to do that same thing again. Snap visible, Control-Shift-Alt-E. Now go to Filter, Sharpen, and Unsharp Mask. Turn the effect up until you like the effect, but don't overdo it. Create a mask if you like to reduce the effect in other places. That's just what I was saying. So again, let's do another Snap visible, Control-Shift-Alt-E. And I'm going to create, well, I'll make a mask in a second, but I'll go to Filter, Sharpen, and Unsharp Mask. And there we go. What's it going to do? It's going to, I'm going to play with these amounts and see how much do I want it to sharpen. You got to be careful. You can definitely over sharpen it and make it look kind of funky and weird. So it helps. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. It helps to not get in too close and not do too much, because otherwise it can look just kind of weird and fake, especially on people's faces. Don't overdo people. They don't look good. Good sharp eyes look good. Skin, not so much. So I'm going with about maybe I kind of like that. It's about 22% at a radius of 3.5 pixels. So I don't think that's overdoing it. Did it there. So if we zoom in, Control plus plus plus, you can see I'm going to go ahead and move it. I held down the space bar and it turns into the hand, which lets me zoom around. Looks like I should have dusted a little bit on my piano before I did this. And so I can see that I have very carefully added a little bit of sharpening to it. You can always do more and then turn it down with your opacity. Honestly, I wish I should have done more so you could really see the effect. But if you don't want it here, oops, I got to pause. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that quick delay there. The computer told me it was full. This video recordings are really big, so I had to fix that. So anyways, we just recently we sharpened our image. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this. And so we sharpen that, but I didn't sharpen in there, I believe. So if like I'm sorry, I did sharpen there. So if you don't want this effect there, you basically just create a mask right there. And then I can just paint black and I can take those areas out. So just take the sharpening out of the areas that you want to be blurry. Because definitely, in this case, I want shallow depth of field. So I'm telling my viewer, look right there. All right, we're almost done here. Going to continue. We are going to vignette this by adding a new layer. Then paint the edges of your image using a large brush with black and low opacity. This is a different way of doing it than what we've done. So I just make a new layer. You can click right to that little tiny dot there and say new layer. In this case, we're actually going to grab a paintbrush and I'm going to use the default colors. Click and I paint black. And I use a really low opacity, something like maybe, I don't know, 20% or so. And then I just kind of darken down my edges a little bit. Because again, I'm telling my viewer, hey, guess what? Look right here. You'll notice how it kind of can look dull and dingy in those areas. You don't really want that. So you can then take it and adjust your blending modes and put it to overlay. It tends to look best. Now it's a little much and it's affecting my color, so you definitely want to turn it down. So somewhere in the neighborhood of, like maybe about 30%, something like that. Yeah, see, it's just designed to just barely darken down those edges just a little bit. All right, here we go. And it says to save your image and then to do a save as your image. The saving your image is for you. So I'm going to go to File, Save. That one's for you. So that way you'll have all these layers in case you want to come back and fix it. Like for example, if you said, you know what, I think I want that to be a little lighter, you could always come back to your first curve right there, double click on that thing right there. It's a nice thing about a curve and say, you know what, let's lighten that. After all that, let's lighten that up just a touch so I can raise that exposure up just a little bit. Kind of like that right there. So that's the cool thing about it. I'm going to save that again, Control S. And then a save as is going to let you turn it into me. So you're going to do Control Shift S is a save as, and if you forget that, it's right under save as right there. So at this point, you're going to turn it in as a JPEG. Do not turn in a PSD to me here. So you're going to be turning it in as a JPEG right there. Click, and it says where's it going, and so I say, yeah, put it in this folder here with all those funny names from my phone there, and then click save, and make sure it's 10 or higher. You'll notice that all my layers on that one temporarily went away. Because if you open that, in fact, here we'll go ahead and close this here now. And I'll close Photoshop. That's just a blank thing right there. And then if you look inside my folder, This is the one that you're going to upload to me. Repetition. It should be in my photo folder, by the way. But there it is right there in my picture folder. Sorry. And there's repetition. And look, don't turn in that one that says PSD. That's a Photoshop document. If you roll your mouse over this, that says JPEG. Okay. So hopefully you learned something on this one. I'll show you how to turn this in an upcoming video, exactly where you're going to put it, because you're going to upload it to OneDrive for me. Okay. Awesome.